Hello and welcome to Flight Attendant Salaries, Benefits and Contracts, and this is with a focus on the Middle East and applicable to all airlines of course, but with a focus on the Middle East or the UAE. It is Tom Reinke here, author of the AIRLINESTrainingOnline.com. So flipping the page, salaries, benefits and contracts. It's always on the lips of applicants and is an interest for good reason. While every airline differs with all elements of this interest, it is for many a real drawcard to the position. And as I stated there in the opening paragraph, the focus of this video is primarily relative to flight attendant positions with Qatar Airways, Emirates Airlines, Etihad and Saudi Airlines. However, a lot of the content can be applied to other airlines of the world, and I'll try and highlight that as we go through. Now, it needs to be understood that every airline will present a different contract upon employment, which is dependent on many variables, of which some of the major variables considered are the country in which you are based, the cost of living, the type of airline operation, its size and position in the marketplace, the airline's employment, pay and share structure, and of course the regulations of that country. Now, what you'll find in this quick video are just some of the common considerations for an entry-level flight attendant. So, what would you expect to find in a contract of employment for flight attendant? It needs to be acknowledged that before a contract offer is made, your employment and personal references will be checked at some stage in the interview process, and of course you'll have to pass a medical exam with a medical outlet or a doctor that is nominated by the interviewing airline. Your next task, of course, will be to pass the flight attendant training, which for most will be somewhere between 5 to 7 or maybe even 8 weeks long. The varying training enters the picture through the type of service that is delivered with whatever airline you're with. If you're with a low-cost carrier, for example, you won't need to do anywhere near the amount of training in the service delivery side of your training. However, all the safety aspect and all that sort of training will be the same or as involved, but that's where you get your differences in how long you'll be in training school for. So a word of note here is that some airlines may go back as far as 5 years with your personal and work references, so the heads up here is to be prepared. When you do receive a contract, it will also come with a probationary period. Now this is a critical time in your training that you must get through because they can and do simply advise you, subject to poor performance of course online, that your services are no longer required. And I might add that there is absolutely nothing to be scared of if you simply do the job that you are hired and trained to do, and that you are indeed not a sheep in wolf's clothing. And a normal flight attendant probationary period can be anything up to 6 months long. Now guys, the probationary period is you go through the interview process, they offer you the training position, you then have to get through the training, and then the probationary period, which is still training effectively, it's online, but you still have to be able to get through that. Now the sheep in wolf's clothing reference is that if you've been disguising who you are and you've managed to get through all this process so far, that somewhere in that probationary period that if you're not who you say you are or not really the person that they thought you were, then the probationary period allows them to simply say bye-bye, you haven't fulfilled the contract as per our requirements, and they'll find some sort of reason or some sort of excuse, or being very valid, I dare say in most cases, that you'll get the message that your services are no longer required. So understand that you will have a probationary period, and it will vary in length of time depending on with whom you have your contract with. Now over the page, a starting working contract can and does vary in length and is different from those operating at home and abroad. Now a contract of between 6 months to 2 years is normal, and typically if an airline has taken on the expense and effort to relocate you abroad, then the longer contract is more likely, or a longer contract is more likely, should I say. A contract of employment for airlines employing at home is often different in that once you are past your probationary period for a full-time position, then employment is continued, provided you pass all yearly revalidations of training and a required intermittent training. Because just to explain that, you'll go through every year, every 10 to 12 months, you'll go through a revalidation period. In actual fact, they can actually bring it forward 3 months. So maybe even every 9 months, but normally within the 12 months, you'll have to go through what they call a revalidation. And revalidation is training revisited on steroids. So you'll go through, typically it's 2 days. One, you'll do aviation medicine normally on one day, and you'll do all your revalidations for your aircraft emergency procedures, etc. on the second day. And just sometimes you may even spill over into a third day, but most revalidations in my employment history have been over 2 days. So flipping the page, so the salary, first up, understand the phrase per diem, and now this simply means for each day used in financial context, it would be something like, he agreed to pay at a certain specified rate per diem. So your take-home pay is made up of a set base pay and allowances, and it's the allowances or per diem that most crew love because they are for a set expense and therefore tax-free. Now the Middle East or the UAE, of course, is tax-free, as is your base wage. The start salary, as would be expected for probationary flight attendants, is a little lower than full contracted flight attendants, and once past your probationary period, you can then expect a pay rise for each year of service, which is normal, or in the absence of that, a set time frame as dictated by the airlines, which I have a friend in the airlines, or in a airline at this point in time, they've got a 2-year freeze on wages, so that's why it's put there, or a set time frame as dictated by the airlines. And also that also depends, of course, if you operate under a union as well. So this is all contracted or negotiated on your behalf. Yeah. So there are a lot of variables at play, but this is just giving you an overview really, and the rest of it is for up to you to check out for whoever it is that you will be applying to. So per diem, it includes a daily meal allowance, and sometimes this is known as a DTA or a daily travelling allowance, paid to you as a crew member when away from home base. Now the amount that you receive in real time as COA or cash on arrival, or as part of your wage, it depends on the airline, and it's most often governed by the cost of living in the city in which you lay over on a trip, because it is intended to cover the cost of meals and given expenses when away from home base. Naturally, this is higher in most Western countries compared to most Southeastern Asian countries, and some airlines, it should be noted however that have done away with the real-time DTA, married to rosters, and have negotiated this payment to be a set amount irrespective of roster and actual expenses expected to be incurred. And this can be a plus or a minus to a particular crew member who depends on how much you fly, yeah, because it's married to how much you fly or you're away from home base. Now the beauty for those that receive this tax-free income that is reflective of Western expenses is that as an individual you could then spend that money at your own discretion. In effect, it means that you can, if you want, choose to eat cheaply and save the difference. Now back in Australia, where I'm from, we used to have in an opposing airline the what they used to call the yen men, and you have to understand this COA first. Let me put you in the picture. Is that when you arrive in a country, you get picked up from the airport in whatever transport, and normally it's anything from a limousine through to a bus, and typically it's a bus, a nice classy bus nowadays, because of the amount of crew on the big aircraft. And you'll go to your hotel, and on arrival in a hotel, when you sign in to check into your room, which is paid for of course by the airline, you will receive a cash envelope, and that'll be your allowance for the time that you are wherever it is that you've landed. And the yen men used to, so called because they would always travel to Japan during the high exchange rate between the Japanese yen and the Australian dollar, and it meant that the amount that they were paid to live in Japan for the time that they were there on their trip, if they chose to then use that money wisely by eating cheaply, they would then have this money to come home to, and on exchange would virtually double their money. And whatever the exchange rate is, it was a very good at the time. So if they were paid $100 a day, for example, in Japan, when they exchanged the rate coming home into Australia, that would convert to $200 or whatever that exchange rate was. But it was a very, very good exchange rate, and it was a very good lark for the yen men at the time. So that's just explaining what cash on arrival is, or the DTA side of things, or the allowance that you get. And like I said, some airlines will pay that into your wage, and some will give it to you as COA. So another added pay opportunity is sometimes offered by way of in-flight sales commission from duty-free sales. Now this also differs between the airlines, guys, because some are low-cost carriers and they'll operate an incentive-based selling program on the duty-free, and some will be legacy airlines where they won't participate or won't offer that in the way of wages or incentives to flight crew to sell. Again, this is difference between airlines. Now, as I said, it's not always offered by all carriers, but when it is, this is normally negotiated between the airlines and the FA union, and in the absence of a union, a stated percentage, which is exactly what it was in the absence of union for a low-cost carrier that I work for. They just simply said you get a percentage of the take and it's divided equally amongst the crew. Let me flip the page, not get ahead of myself. It can also be divided up in different ways, with the sum total being divided equally between all crew members, as it was with the low-cost carrier that I flew with, or allocated to those that are actually do the selling. There's machines out there that you can just input your user code of, and it will give you it will come up when it prints out at tally time who sold what, how much, and your name, of course, and your percentage of the take. So again, there's many ways to that this is done. So flipping the page, it needs to be mentioned also that a major benefit that needs to be considered is the opportunity that is wrapped up in a flight attendant contract, particularly for those joining an airline in the Middle East or Gulf regions, being throughout the UAE, and that is the additional benefits of free medical insurance, transportation and accommodation in the city of country in which you are based. Base pay of the carriers of the UAE will be in the order of somewhere between $24,000 per annum, raising each year of experience up to about $35,000 to $40,000 per annum, and with the commercial airlines over and above that, anything up to $70,000 or $80,000 for VIP corporate flight attendants. And again, that might be one of your goals, to get your experience in the commercial airlines and move on up to a corporate job. Corporate jobs are very, look, they're excellent jobs. There's very good conditions with a lot of VIP corporate jobs, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's you'll have some dedicated commercial operators or commercial flight attendants that never want to go corporate, and you'll have corporate flight attendants that will never want to go commercial. It really depends on who it is, where it is, and who your corporate opportunity might be with. So over the page, for airlines outside of tax-free countries, this is obviously a variable, but it is often based on a set number of hours at an hourly given rate, the base pay here. As just one example, which is not indicative of all airlines because of the many variables at play, however, an international flight attendant based in Australia for one particular airline will earn, at the time of putting this video together, will earn $27.72 an hour and could be expected to fly between 200 to 220 hours in an 8-week roster. Now this would amount to a base wage of somewhere between the region of $30,000 to $35,000. Now your per diem pay will obviously be variable and will differ with every airline also, but could be expected to be somewhere between $800 to $1,400 on any given month. And again, if the exchange rate on that cash on arrival money is very good from the country from where you earn that money, or you overnight away from home base, and the country in which you live, this could be a real, where you can understand why it can be a really good earner for you. And just one tip there, guys, do get a position with an international airline that travels to many countries. Can I suggest that you get yourself a money divider so that you can separate all the currencies that you have, and that you try and get rid of the coin that you will find that you will end up having a lot of from the countries that you fly to. Try and get rid of that before departure. Go maybe buy a coffee with your change, because otherwise you end up carrying out a lot of dead weight in your bag through coin from all different countries. Yeah, so just a little tip there. So over the page, time off. Now this can be awesome, but really is a revolving door also because of variable rosters. Time off whilst on a trip does not count for time off from work. It is better to set maximum hours, which is also a variable due to the ability to be able to roster maximum hours. However, maximum rostered hours a month is typically around 120 hours or 240 for an 8-week roster. Now, the difficulty in rostering that many hours is connections. When you've got 14-hour flights and you've got minimum rest periods, and look, it can become an absolute nightmare to try and get close to that, because if you then go out of hours or over hours, it is a cost the airline has to bear in overtime or replacing you as crew. So yeah, sometimes the rosterers who give you your work schedule will get it right, and it'll pan out really well, and sometimes they won't, and sometimes you'll not work too much at all. However, let me continue. 8-week rosters are now quite normal among airlines, particularly for long-haul flight attendants, as it makes rostering a much easier task and also provides flight attendants the ability to better plan their lifestyle and commitments of life. And with 8-week rosters, they only have to do 6 roster periods per year instead of 12, so it makes sense that they've cut their workload in half if they issue 8-week rosters. So again, typically you could expect to get 28 days off in that 8-week roster. So it really is not a bad gig to get amongst, guys, in addition to the time off that you'll have whilst away from home base between trips, or from one flight in to one flight out from wherever your destination might be. So over the page, uniforms. Most legacy airlines will supply your uniform and all the uniform accessories like bags, etc. And one exception is often shoes, because it's such a personal fit, and it's a separate one-off allowance is often given for this. Low-cost carriers, again, I have to mention, have a tendency to have you pay for your uniform and deduct its cost from your salary, or give you back that in your salary over a short period of time. And some simply expect you to pay for your uniform and claim it as a tax deduction against your own income. Again, as the low-cost carrier that I work for 12 months did to me. It's not the ideal, because you only get a tax deduction on your uniform, you don't get full tax, and you have to wait for so long to get your money back. And it's an investment in their airline, and it's not really, I don't consider it should be your expense, but that is just how some low-cost carriers operate. So, over the page to other things to consider. Language allowance. Do you speak another language in addition to English? If so, you can be paid an allowance on flights to your destination of language. Sometimes you'll see advertisements for flight attendants, and they require a particular language. Now, if you apply under that language, obviously you will have to have a language test, and if you're successful, it will require you to do a lot more of those trips to that country of language, and it can require you to do all the language PAs on board the aircraft, and of course to liaise with passengers and ground crew when required. Over the page, other benefits. There are many other benefits that you could calculate into the financial package also. Obviously, yes, you get to travel the world for free and stay in, for the most part, awesome hotels. And of course, if you work in the Middle East, you don't pay tax on your base salary or allowances. Again, if you're in the Middle East, you'll be covered by international medical insurance also. So holidays and vacation time, for the most part in most airlines, is paid for at base work rates. Your personal travel on other airlines is offered at great discounts, and by great discounts, let me say that they are great discounts. Partners and sometimes family members can be nominated to receive great travel discounts from your employing airlines, or travel buddies. You can nominate a travel buddy. Some people call them travel buddies, that you can have a partner or an elected individual to travel on your discounts, and that really is another very attractive package as well. Yep. So over the page, you are open to some of the greatest discounts from travel, recreational, accommodation and tourist ventures and operators around the world, available only to airline staff. And guys, this goes right across the board. You can go to a recreational outlet and show your ID, and many of them will simply offer you straight off the bat a 50% discount. You might even go to nightclubs where you show your ID and you'll just get free pass to the nightclub. The amount or the reach that your benefits reach to is quite astounding. When if you're certainly going to be active in travelling around the world in your spare time, and even when you're away on overnights and you have time off away in a trip, it's certainly a very attractive option to always carry your airline's ID. Moving on to maternity leave. Now, yes, this is offered to many airlines, but it's different between the airlines. So again, check out the individual contracts or the individual statements on maternity leave from whatever airline that you're looking at. And yes, discounts for crew at airport duty free. This is a good one too, because for the international travellers, or for those that get a job with an international airline, duty free can be a really good lurk to pick up your maximum allowance on duty free. There is limitations. I won't go to them here. Just understand that there's a limit to how much duty free you can have every time you enter back into your home country. Now, the discounts for crew at airport duty free are really well worth having a look at. For family, friends and members of immediate family, of course, you can buy Christmas presents pretty cheap, duty free in fact. So it's something to also factor in to your benefits. So flipping over the page, it should be noted that one of the biggest benefits is experience. Guys, being a flight attendant opens up your world to what it is effectively a very small place. 1 minute you're in home base where it is raining and freezing cold, and within 14 hours you could be halfway around the world and landing into some warm tropical destination. After a quick change, you could then be sunning it on a beach or sipping cocktails by the pool. Being a flight attendant is often referred to as living a champagne lifestyle on a beer budget, and while that is indeed true for most, it really is the ultimate career for experience which no one can place a price on. It really does open up your world to new experiences. You'll see things you never thought existed. You'll see and you experience things that the people that you have on board, for the most part, save up all year to go on their annual holidays. Here it is, you're doing it as a lifestyle. Sure, you're working to get there, but hey, when you get there, you get that time off. You get to be able to go and see those tourist attractions. You get to go and see and experience different cultures. And this is just you're getting this. You're getting paid for this, guys. This is it's the ultimate experience, and it's the very thing that keeps flight attendants keeping on. No other such opportunity is available on a mass scale to anyone in any industry. None. And it's why this job, this career, will always forever be so competitive to get into. Incidentally, how might you get into flying the world as a flight attendant? Hello, I'm Tom, and if you are watching this on YouTube and do not know what the Airlines Be a Flight Attendant Today program is, then let me explain. Obviously, those of you who are viewing this inside the course, you already know what this course is all about. But for those of you on YouTube or Vimeo or wherever you might be watching this on a blog somewhere, let me explain the Airlines Be a Flight Attendant Today program. This is a 30-day comprehensive Be a Flight Attendant training program starting from scratch, delivered in 30 videos and 9 online website-based electronic flipbooks. Now, it's designed to take you from grassroots entry level and show you what is required to achieve a flight attendant career step by step. The program unravels the requirements and the process of the application and interview process that you as an applicant must know and make second nature to give you the edge in securing a flight attendant career. Now, this has never been more important than today, with an estimated 97% of applicants failing to get through the system in this most competitive, sought-after job and awesome lifestyle career. Now, your teacher has more than 20 years in aviation, having flown with 5 different airlines over 20 years, has been an international and domestic cabin manager, and has sat on the interview panels of 3 of his past 5 airlines flown with. He has also held a commercial pilot's license since 1985. And yes, guys, that's me, Tom, the author of the airlinestrainingonline.com website, and of course the Airlines Be a Flight Attendant Today program. And I now cordially invite you to view the airlines training videos for the best job in the world, flight attendant. And you'll see a link, if you're not inside the course already, you'll see a link below this video, and hopefully for those that actually post it on a blog, if you're viewing on a blog somewhere, they'll also include that link, which will take you to the free opt-in videos, which will tell you a lot more about what this course is about. Thanks for listening. See you on the inside. Catch you soon.